Loss and damage fund. Emission of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere due to industrialization and deforestation by human beings for their development has not only led to depletion of resources but also burdened human beings to bear the cost of its aftermath. So the concept of loss and damage was coined from a longer period of time. Loss and damage is the term referred to costs already being incurred from climate fueled weather extremes or impacts. Climate funding earlier was focused on cutting carbon emissions, while now it is also redirected towards helping the communities so as to adapt to the future impacts. The consequences of catastrophe brought by climate change is so humongous to rebuild the community needs further investment. Now we will see what is loss and damage fund is all about. Loss and damage funds are the funds that has to be collected in order to compensate the most vulnerable countries from the climate-linked disaster. Mainly developed countries contribute funds towards underdeveloped countries as they don't have enough fund to mitigate the transitions to move towards greener economy. This fund aims to cover the cost of damage that the member nation cannot avoid or adapt to. A report of 55 vulnerable countries estimated that their combined climate linked losses in the last 2 decades totaled $525 billion or 20% of their collective GDP. Vulnerable countries and activists believe that damage to the climate has been caused by the developed countries in their earlier stages of development shall pay or contribute now. It is believed or argued that the developed countries aggravated the problem of climate change as underdeveloped or developing countries have not just started to grow relying more on industrialization. Earlier, these countries were agrarian by occupation. Let's see how far the development took place with respect to loss and damage fund in COP27, that is 27th Conference of Parties. A transitional committee has been formed to decide upon the countries and their share towards contribution to the loss and damage fund. It basically estimates or calculates which countries should contribute and their share in contribution. The recommendation of transitional committee will be adopted in next conference of parties of the UN's Framework Convention of Climate Change, also known as UNFCCC. The next COP of UNFCCC will be held in UAE in 2023. UN has released a statement after COP and points related to the loss of damage fund is highlighted here. The agreement on the loss and damage fund can unlock greater ambitions for mitigation and adaptation. If the underdeveloped countries are provided with the cushion for this transition from current economy to greener and cleaner economy, it will motivate them to do more. As per the statement from the UN President, the expected monetary compensation from the L&D fund is estimated to nearly $500 billion, and it will rise by $200 billion annually. That means every year more of 200 millions will be required. The countries like Austria, Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, and New Zealand has uh, pledged financially for the funds for the other countries during this COP27. Now let's see what's India's position. India hails this fund while developed countries like USA have been opposing this new fund for the fear of being held accountable for carbon emission. Now I'll give my opinion. I have points to highlight in respect of the development. Well developed countries will come forward to contribute towards this fund as all countries are real struggling to maintain their inflation level, unemployment and price rise. Secondly, will the underdeveloped countries use these funds towards greener economy or something else, or they underutilize they use the fund for not for the purpose for which it is loss and damage fund.